This motherfucker.
Yeah. What up, y'all?
What's up? We
OG
live.
Logic's back. What's going
We
on, man? How
live.
you doing? You look like you enjoying yourself over there in the U.S., man. What's going on? You look like you're having too much fun, bro.
You know, I'm. So, for those of you that don't know, first of all, welcome everybody from the
Yeah,
bottom
indeed.
of our hearts. We're glad you're here. For those of you
Absolutely.
that aren't familiar, I was actually born and raised in the Los Angeles area in a place called Orange County, and if we want to get a little bit more specific, in a city called Anaheim. But
Okay.
I have family that's all in the LA area too. Anaheim and Orange County, or excuse me, Orange County and LA County being neighbors. So it's
Mm-hmm.
it's just a stomping ground. So when I'm back in the area doing fun stuff and all that. It's
Nice.
very familiar, just good feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was born in California, but I didn't spend a lot of time there. I was basically just born there, and then my family pulled up, and we ended up in. Where did we go after that? I don't even know. I was so small. It was just after my birth. I just know it
Do you,
from like family history.
do you know where in California?
Merced at
Oh shit.
Atwater Air Force Base. I was born at Atwater Air Force
Yeah,
Base.
that's like Central California.
Yeah, it's apparently
Yeah.
in the bush.
Yeah. It's out there with all that agriculture. Yeah.
Yeah, deep country.
hmm Oh, cool, man. See,
uh,
so you're born Californian. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, man. Uh,
So
Brown Dude Life, and peace be upon you too.
what are we getting? We're getting comments upon
Yeah,
already.
Chad Breek,
Oh,
man. I can't. Chad, you got to get a better job, man. If the UK salaries are bad, you got to make your own money, or you got to get a better job, bro. You got to handle your business, bro. Yeah.
and we are getting Sadiq today, but just maybe not right away. Is that what's happening? Or
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, Sadiq. I think you guys know he's mentioned it before. Sadiq's like, Sadiq's dad, and he's having we'll call it a domestic emergency. He's got parent duty. So
yeah,
inshallah, we hope he shows up. But if not, then there's always the next show. He'll be back.
yeah, we're here. We're here. That's all that
Indeed.
matters. Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. I'm a Californian, man. I'm a Californian. But I haven't been back there. I need to. Yeah, these clowns, and I mean, it's kind of appropriate that, like, this topic always comes up, and it's on this particular show. But it was the government; they put me on a no-fly list, so I don't. And to this day, I don't know why. So they canceled me.
Okay,
The airline canceled me.
so are you still on a fly list or a no fly list?
You know what? Nobody can tell me for sure. So nobody knows. Nobody knows. And no, see, the thing is, they're not obligated to tell you. So the only way I can find out is to actually try and book a ticket again, and then try online boarding and see if it goes through or not. If it goes through, then I'm no longer on the list. If it doesn't, then I am. Then I got to call somebody who knows. Nobody seem to know who I need to talk to.
Yeah.
And then arrange to have an air marshal on the same flight with me in order to fly.
Wow. I mean, like, are you going to know who the air marshal is?
Yeah, I got to sit with him. Apparently, I have to sit together with him.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's fucking
I guess
crazy.
they worried about me grabbing number 4. They're like, oh, he's gonna marry one of those hot air stewardesses. We got to keep him away. Make
No,
sure he
that's
sits at the
crazy.
window, not the aisle.
That's crazy though, man. You know what? You know what's weird is I remember when I was doing time on the inside, right? Like, I'd have to go out sometimes because there was a couple times like I had a couple medical things to go out for, and then like I went out for court and all that, and it's crazy because they put you in like a orange jumpsuit, right? And they shackle your legs and they shackle your hands, so you're walking like with your hand like I can't even point it right, but it's like on your
Hip.
yeah, like that, right? And
Wow.
then there's two dudes, two armed guards, like one on each side of you as they're escorting you, right? And it's just like it's weird. It's one thing to be sitting next to someone because they're guarding you, right?
Yeah.
Or because they, whichever. It's another thing when you're next to someone and it's like, dang, if I try to leave, these fuckers are gonna shoot me dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had
That's crazy.
yeah, it's a weird feeling, having to be like escorted around, like
They even admit that it's not really has to do with anything with a threat. Because when I was going to fly back to the U.S., I've told the story before. I was going to fly with Canadian Airlines. Canadian Airlines, they basically put me in contact with like some of their equivalent to Homeland Security, and they said, well, they've told us nothing that makes you a credible threat. So they said you're more than welcome to fly into Canada and to go across the border, on foot, by car, bus, whatever you wish. And then here's the kicker: they said, but there's no guarantee they'll let you cross the border on foot, by car, or by bus because you're on a no-fly list. Now, can you imagine that? They won't let an American citizen cross the border with an American passport, a valid American passport, into the United States. There's no guarantee. Is that even legal?
I don't see how they can keep you out.
Well, they've apparently done it before, because there's a point when you're in legal limbo. They'll take your passport and they won't stamp it. Therefore, you are not legally accepted into the U.S. at that particular point between the two states. And so
whoa, wait a second. They take your passport, like they confiscate your passport?
Yeah, they take your passport and they're like, oh yeah, come with us, put it in a plastic bag. And then since you're not really in the country yet, they're just talking to you about coming to the country. And yeah, so they said there's been a lot of issues with that.
But so did you not get your passport back?
No, I didn't try. I just said screw it. I just stayed here. But I talked to, because I used to be with the military, I talked to a few military guys, and one guy flew to Mexico. Same problem, prior military. He flew to Mexico, and they wouldn't let him in the country. He was a veteran, and they wouldn't let him in the country. And so he's stuck in Mexico. As far as I know, to this day, that's over a decade now, or close to a decade.
Weird times, man. Weird times.
It's really weird times. And speaking of that, that's what our topic is today, man. Weird times, man. Big tech.
Yeah. Weird times.
What are these dudes doing? Is it legal? I think everybody knows by now. If you haven't been paying attention, then I don't know what rock you've been hiding under. But Twitter and a few other platforms deplatformed. They removed, blocked, permanently deleted Donald J. Trump from Twitter. And they have basically, And so and it didn't stop there. They did it to Ron Paul now and on Facebook.
Ron Paul's got it too now, huh?
Yeah, on Facebook. They got Ron Paul on Facebook.
Oh, wow.
And so, I mean, we got so much going on here. Then we had everybody flooding over to that alternative to Twitter, Parler. And then Parler ended up getting, do you call that deplatformed? What do you call that?
I don't know. Canceled.
They actually Epstein the website.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I just
done.
It's crazy. What do you call that? What they did there? And then who else? They tried to they couldn't get Gab. Gab has been resilient. Gab was apparently, they knew what was coming up and what was coming, and they protected themselves.
Yeah.
But we got to look at this stuff. We have to ask actual questions. Does a private corporate, this is the biggest question on my mind, and maybe you can help me work through this, Bobby. This is the biggest question on my mind.
Maybe.
Does a private corporation have the right to revoke constitutional rights of citizens just because it's a private platform? Because according to that logic, if I'm on my private property, I can break constitutional law because I'm on my private property, right?
Yeah and no. See, here's the thing, is because of what they are, like they aren't classified like a utility, right? So like, for example, like your phone, let's say a phone, it's a utility. Okay. Yeah. Now you would think social media by now would be utilities, with LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever, but it's not yet. So so like your phone company couldn't say, we don't agree with Craig being Muslim, so therefore, boom, we're taking his phone. You know what I mean? Because they would be in trouble for that. They're a utility that's in spite of whatever. But I think that because social media doesn't have that kind of like rating, right? Like they don't have that kind of whatever yet. That there's just, it's the loophole of, okay, well, you're talking through my microphone. You can go talk through somebody else's microphone, just don't talk through mine. You get what I'm saying? Like it's they're using it like a now if it was a thing to where it was like, hey, your company sells microphones or has microphones, and you're supposed to give everyone a microphone regardless because you're a utility, then that would be something that they couldn't do.
Okay, but we have two.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Well, we have two precedences here, and
right.
What do you want, Google? Google's trying to talk to me. And that is the cake people who didn't want to sell to homosexuals. Remember that whole thing?
Right.
Well, somewhere in there, okay, doesn't that kind of fall into that? That was a private business, right? So,
right. And
they wanted to, yeah.
But what it came out that they were doing, and a lot of that, keep in mind too, a lot of that shit was just, even though we have courts and systems, people still get persuaded by the news and that what's happening and whatnot. That's why prisoners will ask for change of venues, because anyone they bring into that jury box is going to know whatever crime they did or they've heard about it. You know what I mean? So it's like, oh shoot, I'm screwed, right? So I mean, as far as the people with the cake, right? It was just decided that, well, they were shitting on their constitutional right to be gay or to live their life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and they were discriminating against whichever, and so that's why they got overturned. Now, could Donald Trump do the same thing? I mean, could he potentially sue and be like, hey, you can't kick me off or whatever, you're discriminating against me? I mean, he could, but his problem isn't that they're discriminating against him because he's gay or a man or straight or whatever. It's his speech. And as far as his speech goes, anyone's just going to be like, well, go fucking talk somewhere else. Twitter isn't holding their hand over your mouth. You know what I mean? And it's not right. I'm not saying it's necessarily the right way to go, but I'm just saying, like, that's kind of the argument for it.
Well, I feel strongly about this, and I personally feel that
I do too.
There's 2 points that I think, from my perspective, as Abuamerican, that I think, and that's one, obviously, being a private corporation doesn't give a person a right, or doesn't give the corporation a right to circumvent the Constitution, aka in this particular regard, the right to free speech. And 2, that is, free speech has never been about popular speech.
Right.
Free speech, the protection of free speech has never been about protecting popular speech, because popular speech doesn't need protecting. Everybody's like, yeah, cheeseburgers are good, but if we came along, we decided that, we were going to start debating pineapple on pizza, and then I had a platform where I could ban everybody who, had the opinion that, I think that's a bad opinion, just to be clear. And if I could deplatform those people for that opinion, that's unpopular speech, and that's what's protected. Now, okay, I've oversimplified it, but you know what I'm saying.
No, and you're absolutely right. Freedom of speech has never been about what's the popular status quo. The whole reason why they had it was so that you could voice your mind or your opinion without fear of getting your fucking head cut off. You know what I mean? Or getting a rope strung around your neck. I mean, the people that came here and came from England and all that, they knew what life was under a monarchy, and like they weren't about to have it. That's why we say president instead of king, when we're talking about whoever's running the country,
Thanks,
but with these social media companies, right? It's like they've got this house and they're throwing this party, right? And like everybody's coming and they're all grooving or whatever, and then someone comes in the party who's just being a fucking lame, right? He's all loud, he's bumping into chicks, making them spill their drinks all over themselves, woo, he's hanging naked off the staircase, whatever the hell. And whoever owns that house, they're going to be like, hey man, get the fuck out, get out of here. And you kick him out. Now, does that dude have a right to go party somewhere else? Well, I guess, party on, bro. But it's like, not in this house. And that's the way they're using it. And I don't dig it either, because I think we're at the point now to where these different social media companies, right? They should be seen like utilities. Yeah. Like think about it. Like, okay, LinkedIn, professional, you need LinkedIn. You doing a professional this or that. and then all of a sudden, like, LinkedIn just decides they ain't with your shit and they kick you out. That's hurting your bottom line. The way that these people have been deplatforming people that, you know, that were making money, that's hurting livelihoods.
Yep.
If it's something that the majority of the people have, you know, like, I mean, it seems like it should be put on some type of legal level like that.
You know, and that's what I just wanted to say. I think if this is the case, since these are technically public platforms, I mean, it is a public platform. I know they say, everyone says it's privately owned, but at the end of the day, it is I'm gonna, you know, bring a little minor counter argument. It is a public platform because anybody can sign up from anywhere in the world. You see, so
they're encouraged to.
Exactly. So you obviously, as a corporation, you know, you're putting yourself in this nice little gray area where it's like, okay, we're a private corporation, but then we're publicly, you know, just letting in any and everyone. I mean, Kim Jong-un, as far as I know, has an account. You know, I don't know. It's like, so there's no limitation. So I think they should be legally obligated, and we could talk about this in a minute with Poland, but they should be legally obligated to say, okay, everybody is allowed to register on here at will, but you're only allowed to say things that we approve of. And they should be legally held, you know, to actually that particular point so that people know, you know, that, okay, this isn't really a free speech platform. This is really, you know, you guys aren't really an American corporation.
Okay. I hate being this guy, okay, because I don't like the way these social media companies are run. I don't like the philosophy. I don't like a lot of the shit, okay? However, I'm going to be the devil's advocate.
Okay.
They do say all that shit. It's in their terms of service.
True.
Like, if you look at their terms of service, they're like, hey, if you get wild or start doing something that, you know, we find to be offensive or hate or whatever, you're gone. And now they're just reclassifying what those words mean. You know, what violence and hate speech and everything mean. You know, I know you guys remember it was last year, and I think the year before that. It's actually been pretty much Trump's whole presidency. But people, these Antifa types were coming out and they're like hitting people and getting violent and whatever. And you had them saying, well, they're using violence against us. How?
Yeah.
Well, it's their speech. It's what they're saying. So now we've reclassified violence as something that could come out of your mouth.
Yeah. Okay. True.
And that right there is causing a whole. But I mean, it's just, this has been the most slippery slope that I've ever seen us on. You know what I mean? It's because you start changing the dictionary and changing what things mean and all that. Well, then you can start getting away with different shit.
Indeed. And, you know, and this is what bothers me also now. So now we're looking at a situation where it's like, so now everybody starts going to other platforms, right? So they say, you don't like our platform, go on it. And then what do? They start attacking those other platforms until they get shut down, aka Parler. Now, Parler apparently was a honeypot. It was apparently a trap. But the fact is that now you switch platforms and they try and attack and deplatform that platform. So now really that whole, well, go talk somewhere else doesn't really count, because now they just start, you know, deplatforming you everywhere you go.
And that's a good point. When we talk about like monopolies or talk about, you know, whichever, you know, I mean, as far as the social media space, there's the big ones you go to, you know, the Instagram and Facebooks and Twitters, right? And then everything else is just trying to be, you know, they're just trying to be that. And when you're making that argument of, okay, we'll go to a different platform. Okay, well, that's like telling me, you know, hey, you have a right to talk. Go fucking stand in the closet and do all the talking you want, you know, to where it's like, well, ain't nobody going to hear me on this platform. You know, how come these people get to have a big audience and I don't? So there is all types of arguments for it. But, you know, ultimately, too, it's like this. It's like, if you want to be the guy or gal that's going to be controversial and saying all the you know, the edgy stuff and have people think, ooh, wow, you know, he so just on edge and what a rebel and all this other bullshit, right? You are going to get pushback like a mofo. Okay.
Indeed.
And if any of that pushback comes from people in power, you're going to get screwed somehow.
Yeah.
That's how the history of mankind works like that. When someone is just too controversial, too wild, too whichever, saying some stuff that's just too like heretical almost. You know what I mean? Like just being like a heretic, right? They get done away with, either figuratively or literally.
Yes. James Stagg says this reminds me of the Ninth Circuit ruling on Robbins versus Pruneyard. James, I'm not familiar with it. I don't know if you give us. I could Google it, of course. Give us a quick.
Well, I'll give you a quick history of the Ninth Circuit. So the Ninth Circuit is out of Northern California. Okay, this is the circuit of the Supreme Court that has been overturned more than any other Supreme Court circuit in the country, because they make the wildest, goofiest fucking rulings, dude. Like the goofiest, wildest stuff. Like the stuff to where you hear like, no way. They really did that in court? Like that's really like something that's coming. That's the Ninth Circuit.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they goofy.
Been overturned more than any other court in the country.
Wow.
That should tell you something right there.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, now in what will we call it? In response, that's the term I want to use. In response to this, we have Poland. Hold on. Actually, I can just screen share this. Hold on. Let me just go ahead and do that. Let me share screen, application window.
Hey, your internet is looking pretty fly, bro.
Oh yeah, man, I like it, dude. This internet's kind of actually nice. So it says right here, Poland, the way I say that, Poland proposes a large fine for social media platforms that censor users. Now, obviously, this only applies in Poland to Polish citizens, apparently, but they're setting a new precedence that I personally support. And it says social media companies that violate a new proposed law in Poland focused on freedom of speech online could be fined up to 1.8 million euros, approximately $2.2 for each offense. The law would be a rejection of the increased censorship on social media platforms. The new bill seeks to prevent social media companies from removing content or blocking accounts that have not broken any Polish laws. So there we go. It only applies in Poland. The justice minister, man, I ain't even trying to say that guy's name. What kind of, okay, anyway, announced the bill in a press conference. So, I mean, we could, of course, finish the article, but, we get the idea, right? Actually, it's not a very long article. I'll just go ahead and shoot through it since I'm reading fast anyway. The bill will lead to the creation of a special court dubbed Court for the Protection of Freedom of Speech. Polish social media users who feel their content has been wrongfully censored should first report the issue to the platform and allow 24 hours. If the platform does nothing or does not respond satisfactorily, the user has 2 days to petition the issue with the new special court, which has 7 days to respond. Once the court rules in favor of the social media user, the platform has to reinstate the account or reverse the removal of the post or risk being penalized by the Office of Electronic Communications for a fine of up to 1.8 million euros. That's not nothing to stick at either.
That ain't nothing to sneeze at. Yeah.
No. According to the justice minister, social media companies practice ideological censorship. I agree. And as a result, unfairly silence users just because they have expressed views and refer to values that are unacceptable from the point of view of communities with an ever stronger influence on the functioning of social media. So
you know what they were just saying right there, right?
Yep.
They were just saying, hey, just because we're straight and the people running this shit are gay or whatever, don't mean that that's what that just said. Anyways.
And so what I like about this is this is what I was talking about earlier. The Polish, they're saying you can't circumvent our national laws. We're not going to let you do it. And I personally like that.
Right.
Excuse me. So continuing, the user of social media must feel that his rights are protected, nor can there be any censorship of speech. Freedom of speech and freedom of debate are an essence of democracy, the Polish justice minister added. The new special court will also tackle blocking requests for content and accounts that actually violate Poland's law. Wait, what? Wait a minute. The special
New
court
court
will
will
also
also
tackle blocking requests for content and accounts that actually violates Poland's law. Huh. Okay.
So they're gonna work it both ways.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will also allow suits involving anonymous users. Wow. Okay, so you can be an anon and just stay anon and sue anonymously. Interesting.
No. That's not what it's saying. That's not what it's saying. It's
It's saying
saying
here.
that right, but that's not what it means.
Okay.
What it means is that you can sue an anon.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true. Okay,
Doesn't
fair
matter
enough.
if
Yeah,
their
I see
name
it
ain't
now.
up there or
Yeah.
not, they'll find them.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got you now. I see it now.
Mm-hmm.
All a Polish social media user will need to sue an anonymous internet user is the offender's pseudonym.
Mm-hmm.
The platform where the offensive post was posted, and the time and the date of the posting. Yeah, see, I could use this for all these Abuamerican attackers, but
Yeah,
I'm not Polish or Poland.
yeah, you could. Well, here's the thing, man. I mean, we talk on one hand about how we got these anons and these different people that just say any old thing they want. Nobody's being held accountable for their speech or their whatever anymore. And then on the opposite end, we got to where it's like, hey, man, okay, so he pisses a few people off. Why are they going to ban him? Why are they going to do this or that, right? So
Yeah,
there is this balance that has to occur between getting your message across, but just not being an asshole or dummy about it.
yeah.
Because I mean, if you keep rubbing people the wrong way, eventually someone's going to rub back, and that's just
Yeah,
what it is.
indeed. It's true. I don't disagree. Yahya says all social media should be closed down. Well, it's pretty heavy handed here. Let's see what he says. It says it's given all idiots the
Elaborate,
ability
please.
to give their opinion and gather together upon that and give confidence to their ignorance. I don't disagree. When we look at leftist SJW, ideology, just literally out there denying science, quite literally, basic biological differences. There are men with vaginas. It's like, what?
Yeah.
There are women with testicles. Like, what? And then there's like an entire crowd of people just behind that, like, yeah.
Yeah, and that's when they're talking about the ideology of the internet and the people that run it, and then that's all you see, even though that might only be like a single digit percentage of the population. Okay, you see stuff like that more than anything. Why? Yep. Because the people that are running the screens, that's what they're showing you. That's what they're about. And that's what that's what Poland was just saying right there with the ideology, and people shouldn't be penalized for having a different ideology than whatever the whoever's running the companies do. And that's the real big bummer right there, because it has an effect not only on the people that they're running, that they're pushing against, right? But I mean, kids go online, kids do all this stuff, and then it's like, I don't even want it. I want this to stay up. I don't want to get us banned. Okay, I don't want to get us kicked off of YouTube again. But it has an effect on kids. Yeah, my daughter is 10 years old, right? She's arguing with me. Like, I mean, not arguing. She's just telling me stuff, but she's like, oh yeah, so you said that the Trump supporters weren't ever violent and it was always the Democrats. Well, look what the Trump supporters did. And Trump got kicked off of YouTube and off of Twitter, and he must have done something and blah, 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 And she's like trying to tell me this stuff. And it's all these little different talking points that you hear from fucking social media. Talking with her little cousins, talking with whatever. And it's like all these different things that you hear,
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, while we were texting this morning before the show about what the topic was going to be, and I was talking about Trump getting canceled and all that stuff, she started in on it again. Well, it's their right. It's their thing. And they have a right to cancel them because they're a private company. I'm just like,
James Staggs, he brings a little loophole here. So he talks about right here. He says Robbins versus Pruneyard protects the right of free speech in the common public areas of a shopping center and mall, but it doesn't apply to individually owned businesses within the mall. So this comes back to what I was saying. Technically, Twitter is kind of the shopping mall if you think about it, because the way they just let people in, really, there is no individual stores because nobody individually owns any sort of property within the Twitter frame, if you know what I mean. Unless you want to call the individual page of a person where you can block people, the stores, and then Twitter is the overall mall. There it is right there. Boom. James, you gave us the what is it? Which court? Which court was it?
That was the Ninth Circuit
Court. Yeah, the Ninth Circuit Court. See, so according to Abuamerican's logic of Ninth Circuit Court, Robin versus Pruneyard, Twitter is wrong. The individual pages are the individual stores, and Twitter is the mall itself. They can't ban people for just saying general stuff in the mall. Manigas, we going to court.
Hey, but at the same time, look, you know what's so much easier, right? Okay, so we're talking about banning and deplatforming and all this, you know, and court cases. Now we got lawyers, and those guys are just expensive, you know. You know what's just easier than all that is
what's that?
Be smart about what you're doing. Now, I know telling people to be smart, for some people it's like telling them to fly. You know, like it's just they don't got the wings. You know, it's not going to happen. However, this is what I'm saying is that you have ways of going about stuff while you can like stay within the boundary and stay within the legality without stepping outside and getting yourself shit canned. So when you're going to make posts, think about it before you hit send. Think about, dang, is this something that's going to get me deplatformed or kicked off or something right now? Like, am I crossing a line here? Because it's so much easier to just not hit send, hit delete, right? Than to go through all the stuff and losing all the money. And now I got court cases. Now I got this. Now I don't even have a social media thing anymore. I mean, bro, you and I know of accounts that were making livings off of social media that aren't, you know, and won't. And that's pretty crazy, you know?
Quiet.
So I think the better thing is to just be smart about what you're posting. Think before you send, you know, like really, like that's just so much easier than all this other stuff.
Let me say this before I go on to Jay Smith's next comment. You know, guys, in terms of being smart, that's a very good point. You know, you do have to be smart. I mean, I don't know how many people ascribe to the book or, you know, ascribe to reading it, but really in this day and age, I can't promote more than ever or enough, the importance of reading 48 Laws of Power. And it talks about, like, you know, the 48 laws in the context, and the audio is really good if you get the audio book because he gives context to each of the points. And they talk about the lives of courtiers and how dangerous it was, because back in the days, courtiers, if you played the game wrong, you'd get killed. You know, it wasn't just you get deplatformed. You literally get tortured, put in a cage for like a couple of decades, and then they kill you horribly at the end of those couple of decades after they did the same thing to your family. So, you know, but nevertheless, you know, just being smart and learning to be smart, I think, is like a very important point. But that said, it brings us back to the earlier point that, you know, we do live in, like, you know, these free speech societies, quote unquote free speech societies, and, you know, we should be able to say what's unpopular, but what's real and what's real are two different things. And so, you know, act accordingly, guys. That said, if I get deplatformed, you can't find me on Gab and you can't find me on Library. So Jay says here,
that's it.
Excuse me, I got the Rona. No, I'm just joking. Have any of you guys seen the Netflix docu movie, The Social Dilemma? It exposes quite a bit on what's happening and what could happen. I haven't seen it. I wish I had time to watch stuff, man. I'm like writing like 3 books at once, dude. It's like ridiculous, and I'm trying to. Oh, gosh. And I'm trying to do like another course.
I haven't seen it either. I think that's the one. I don't know if Tom Hanks is in it or this is a documentary. Okay, no, I haven't seen. There's another one. I think it was called The Social Circle. No, but this one, the social dilemma, I've heard of it, haven't seen it. Maybe I'll have to check it out. I don't know.
Someone once said to me, this is what Gracious Interest says, and welcome, bro. I do shows with him on Sundays. Someone once said to me, the internet is what the heck is going on here? The internet is a trash can. Dig deep enough and you'll find what's needed. The solution is not to overshare, be more private. I agree and I disagree, because again, we come back to, like, are we living in free speech societies? A person should be able to say what they want as long as it's not inciting others to hate or violence, because those are crimes. These are things that are not allowed in our society. And when we really look at, like, the speech of our outgoing president, really the guy, he didn't say anything. He was goofy, but he didn't say anything like, that was inciting violence, So
no,
there's a balance, man. There's a balance about, like, okay, people should be allowed to be as goofy as they want to be as long as it's not dangerous,
Yeah. The thing with that. Oh, go ahead.
No, please. I was just reading the comments, but
no. So it's look, we're at this part right now in history to where we have access to so much information. Like, nobody has ever had access in the history of mankind to this much information that we do now.
Absolutely.
The way that we get access to this information is through sharing, right? But it's valuable information. I think what happens is a lot of people share to the point to where they think that just they're in a room full of friends, and they just start talking whichever, right? And sure, they're talking to their friends, but guess what? It's an open party, right?
Yeah.
So, someone's hearing the music from down the street, they're walking up, and then they come up on the lawn, they see the beer cans, they see the frat guys twirling their shirts, and like, I don't like this shit. Why has anybody called the cops yet? And then they call the cops, and that's similar type of thing. So yeah, you're right. I mean, he's right in the sense that you don't want to overshare, like everyone's just your best pal and there's nobody else around or whatever, because you're going to get in trouble that way.
Yeah. I mean, there's, of course, social acumen, there's discretion, but it is a right, that people have, I'm not saying that you should. I'm just saying that's a right that should be, quote unquote, without consequence, or at least the consequences that you're willing to suffer. You know what I mean? If you want to put your address online, don't be surprised when weirdos showed up, but you do have the right to do that. And technically, weirdos shouldn't show up and try and threaten you or harm you. But we know the real world doesn't function like that. It's obvious.
Sure.
So if you're going to do that, make sure you got guns at the house. I'm not inciting violence or promoting violence. Just understand weirdos will probably show up if you do stuff like that. So, be willing to share as far as, the actual consequences, that could have outcomes on you, are, what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. So I was down in Venice with the girls yesterday. Okay. And for those of you that aren't familiar with Venice Beach, you find all types down there. It's a very weirdo type place. A lot of sections, like there were whole just walkways, like on both sides going down, that were just tents and makeshift pallet houses of homeless people, and all that. So I mean, it's got all types. But we were down there, and I rented this little electric scooter, so it's got a driver's seat in front and then a seat big enough for two people in back. So I threw my girls in back, and I was cruising up and down the thing in this electric scooter, right? It was pretty fun. But like, there was a couple times, like homeless or whatever, like I caught him looking at my daughter, dude. Yeah. And like that shit right there, like, it just makes me think, like, man, you got to be careful for your women, because they're just fucking assaulted. Like, they can't go out anywhere without being looked at or whistled at or whatever. Yeah. And it's one of those things to where you got to be able to be on your game points too, because I mean, if you're going to be looking out for your girls or whatever like that, and like, let's say somebody makes the move or steps forward or whatever, man, there's got to be something in you that's just willing to fire on that motherfucker and drop him.
Yep.
Drop him.
Absolutely.
And if you don't know how to do that, or incapable of doing that, or, you know, your first thought is to say, you know, well, maybe if I just ask the guy politely, yeah, excuse me, sir, could you please leave us alone or whatever, you know, you're fucked. And you're going to get screwed somewhere down the line. It may not be that instance, but if you don't have it in you to where you're willing to just stand up and blast, like, you know, the world's a funny place. And I'm only saying this, talking about weirdos showing up, you know, all this stuff. Weirdos are everywhere, man. Everywhere.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. The internet's full of them. You know, but this brings another question to the surface. So now we had Trump deplatformed. We have Ron Paul partially deplatformed. We have an entire social media deplatformed. You know, why can't all of a sudden these same, you know, powers that be get rid of like the pedos online? What?
Well, bro,
those guys are still there.
You know the answer to that.
Hunter Biden, he's still online, and this dude, he's got pictures of him banging his like nephews, and his, excuse me, not his nephews, his nieces, his underage nieces. I mean, why is this guy still online? He's literally breaking the law openly. I know the answer, but I'm being rhetorical, obviously.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, guys, what are we doing here? And you know, I mean, what's the point in saying, oh, well, you know, and this is why I patently reject the statements of people who say, oh, well, you know, if you want to talk free, you can do it on another platform. And it's not life or death rejection. You know, it's just like, I disagree with that, because if you go to another platform, they can try and deplatform that platform, you know? Right. So I think it sets personally, I think it sets a precedence, which is highly, highly, highly disturbing. It's worrying. It's concerning.
This whole last 2 years or last 3 years even, has just been about setting gnarly precedences. Like that's what it's been. Like this whole thing. Like, okay, here's another thing that might get us banned, but yeah, I just got to talk about it anyway. Okay, this COVID and mask wearing shit. Okay, this is a precedence that I cannot believe we set. All right, because now, even when they decide to, let's say, get rid of the masks one day, right? Like, let's say, you know, one day they decide, okay, well, you guys can stop wearing them now. It's been almost a year. It's been fucking 5 years or whatever they decide, right? There's already the precedence there that they will shut down everything and mask you up anytime you want. And guess what, bitch? You're going to take it. You're going to take it. Right.
Anytime they need you, they're gonna be like, here, Sally, put on this dress.
Right.
You know.
Right. And you're gonna be like, thank you, sir. May I have another?
Here I am. I'm your little hoe. You know, this is really bad, because right now in Germany, what they did is they've basically imprisoned cities. This is really happening in Germany. Let me explain this to you. When we talk about precedences being set, so now they've set up a law that when the COVID number gets above a certain number, 200 per 1,000 or something like this, in a particular area, the people in that area are not allowed to travel beyond 15 kilometers from their house, and you're not allowed to travel into that area. So now the capital of the state I'm in, Saarland, is on a 15-kilometer lockdown. Do you know how many people are in the capital of this state? They just basically told you you're a prisoner. They might as well put ankle bracelets on the entire capital of the city. They're basically saying that, like, you know, is that next? Are they going to start putting ankle bracelets on people? Oh, well, you can't go past 15 kilometers. So the two of the larger cities in my state are now on complete lockdown for 15 kilometers. They set like a precedent that's unheard of. How do you tell people who are free that you can't travel from one city to the next or from one location to the next based upon some arbitrary number that you don't have a way of tracing nor tracking? You know, you're not sick, you're not healthy, you don't know anything, you know, because you're asymptomatic or whatever else. They've set such a crazy precedence to allow something like this to just pass. It's insane.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you know how I knew it was done, okay? Because I know, you know, the bunch of different countries in the world are free, you know, and have their freedom and this and that. But when you talk about like the land of the free, that's what America's known as. You know, America's known as the land of the free, the home of the brave, right? And we got guns, you know, we got lots of guns, right? And we will defend our freedoms, and you could pry my gun from my cold dead fingers and all that other stuff that they talk about, right? We laid down and took this like nothing. And if America will do that, everyone will do it.
Yep.
Everyone will do it. And that's what's crazy to me. When we're talking about crazy precedents, yes, Trump being censored from social media is definitely a crazy precedent, him being the president of the United States.
And then deplatforming another platform is another one also.
Crazy. But this thing about like, we're just gonna like lose our livelihoods.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine the thing that every time I think about it, I just think, like, what if I was that guy that had been saving for 10 or 15 years to open up this business? You know what I mean? Put everything I had into it. You know, my wife is worried like just, you know, she's all nervous about it and everything. And you know, you got kids to feed and all that, and then it's done. Just done over this. Like, I'm telling you, I've said it before. I shouldn't say it again, but I'm surprised that none of these political figureheads have been assassinated.
It's yeah. I mean, they were saying it about Trump. So
we killed presidents for less.
Yeah. It's odd that they, you know, it's even controversial because they've been saying the whole that very statement about Trump directly for his entire presidency. Yahya 1125 says Trump has been a blessing for the USA in that he has shown how so much of the U.S. Excuse me. Let me start over again. I'm struggling here. Let me read over here on the sidebar. Actually, it's easier. Trump has been a blessing for the USA in that he has shown so much of USA is established on norms and not law. Now, some companies have pulled Trump up on the norms. The beauty of irony. It's true, I guess. Yeah. Social norms. It really is a thing. You know, there are things that it is true. You see this in Germany a lot. Things that aren't the law, but they're a social norm. You know, and what will be to the person who breaks the social norms? You know, you will just be ostracized. You know, which isn't a problem. I mean, that's how you maintain social order. But you know, at the same time, it's like, you know. Yeah, whatever. Oh man, yeah, but I just don't know, man. We're heading into interesting and new times, dude, and none of it looks good. None of it. I just don't, you know, I don't like where the world's going, you know.
Well, okay, yeah, that's true. That is true. Okay.
Yeah.
That being said, okay, because I don't want to end this for you and myself and everybody watching on a bad note. There's still plenty of opportunity for greatness.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's not doom and gloom what I'm saying.
Yeah. Most of this stuff that is even happening right now, right? And this is where people have a hard time with this, okay? Most of the stuff that's happening right now is only your reality if you choose to make it so. That's it. And you know, people that are into policy say, oh, they can write policy that'll blah, 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 you know, and they like try and argue. Maybe it gets passed, but you know what? Just in your day-to-day life, like waking up, going out your front door, going to work, doing whichever you got to do. Yeah. Most, if not all of this stuff is only your reality because you're choosing to let it be your reality. Indeed. If you just don't give a shit about it, or don't, guess what? It doesn't exist. Like, you know how many people, they'll hit me up, they'll be like, hey, have you seen on the news? Blah, blah, blah. I'll be like, nope. Nope, I haven't seen it. And you know what? My day's been fine. So's my week. Yeah. So's my month. And I didn't watch that thing on the news, didn't read the story, didn't comment on it, and didn't give a shit about it. Yeah.
Yeah, generally, I mean, I catch this stuff. I mean, my wife really keeps up on it, and like sometimes I'm just like, what? You know, I'm too busy like writing, doing stuff, and trying to make things happen. You know, with my whole Abuamerican and my mining, so I generally don't have a lot of time for it. But when I see it, it really puts me in like, you know, a state of surprise. Like, okay, wow, can you actually do that? This is like, is this constitutionally like, you know, even acceptable?
Well, and so you and I grew up in a different time where there was like actual consequences for actions and stuff.
Yeah,
you know, absolutely. Like I mean, not only legal consequences, but social consequences. You know, like being ostracized or getting your ass kicked or getting, you know, now it's just everything that you and I grew up with what's right and how you act and how it's antiquated. You know, it's just like it's not even part of the norm anymore, which is crazy.
Yeah, there's no social consequence anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. My wife says it. She says, yeah, her journalist soul is screaming. My wife is she's a journalist, by career and university degree.
Cool. That's awesome.
Yeah. Just sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. Well, I bet it's good, especially for your writing. You got someone that can check your stuff.
She does those fire thumbnails. Did you see that thumbnail she did? The moving thumbnail, it's like the one
that
for
you
this
sent
show.
me. Yeah,
There's one, first one I linked is just a retweet of her thing, Mitch. I'm like, her whole thumbnail game is on point. I was like, this is an unutilized resource. And she was holding out on me here all these years.
No, but it is. Look, just because whatever's the norm doesn't mean that that's what you got to be. Okay, whether you're religious or not, there's okay, Christ himself, when talking about like being a Christian and all that, he said the world's going to hate you. They're going to hate you, but just remember that they hated me first.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of what's going on is like you got to be ready if you're going to live a life to where you're doing things right, and that you're living the way that you should be living as a man and as a provider and all that. You will get pushback. You will get hate.
Yeah. It's like, I just don't know what to say, man. Other than, I said it already. It's crazy times, dude.
It's crazy times. Crazy times.
I just look at it and I'm just like, yo, what the frick? Like you said, man, we came up in a totally different generation, and I like it.
Yeah.
And let me just talk about that. I don't know. I made a video about it. It's just like back in the days, man, we ran our mouths. You get punched in the mouth. You had to be able to stand up for what you believed in and what you wanted to say. And if you talked crap, there was no online. That dude was walking around somewhere and people was like, yo, so-and-so said something. We were the social media because we were sociable. We were like, amongst one another. And so, there was consequences or,
shit, it wasn't even your parents either. Like shit, I remember your uncles, your aunts, whoever smack you around if they wanted to, or
Yeah, those rule of law.
I'm not saying it's the right way to be, but my dad passed away before I was born, and one of the ways that my uncles, right, they thought that like you made a man or whatever was you just kick the shit out of the kid until he got tough.
Okay.
Oh, well, okay. Yeah. All that did was just make me hate my uncles, man. Because by the time I was like 16, 17 years old, I was ready
I'm just saying okay, because there's an interesting, there's an interesting way of seeing things.
Right. So now I'm just pissed off, and I still don't like them to this day. And it's not like I wish him ill will or whatever like that. It just wasn't necessarily the
best way to go about things.
I mean, listen, I can understand a little corporal punishment. I know that that's not really popular, and I don't promote it, but I guess in certain instances I can understand it as long as you're not fucking going crazy with it, but as far as just like, hey, this is it, we're gonna put him in fucking gladiator school, we're gonna put the kid in Spartan camp or something like that, because that's what, man, like when I was growing up, and like whenever I'd hear something or there was like a door or something, I was like, because my uncles, they dip on me like when I wasn't looking and shit like that. You know what I mean? And be like, oh, so
that's an interesting environment to come up in.
It was, man. Because they weren't little guys either. They were tough in their own right. But it's just I'm not saying beat kids up or anything like that, or even hit them at all. What I am saying is you can teach them to have a little fortitude. Teach them that they gotta stand up for what's theirs.
And that's the point I just want to make.
They don't just go run and try and tell.
That's what I like about our generation
themselves. Yeah.
And what I liked about our generation is you had multiple choices and decisions, and they all required you to be smart or strong or both. And if you ended up in a bad situation, you had to buckle down and say, yeah, I said that. What you going to do about it? And you had to stand your ground. Or you had to look at the situation and say, okay, this is probably like, not the best time to like make a decision like this, or I'm going to stand my ground. And you had to be smart, but it taught you a better way. You know, now you got anonymity online and all this stuff, and people just being really snarky, dorky idiots, and and then just like, and then they go into public and you see them get beat up on camera, on some goofy YouTube or World Star Hip Hop because they just don't know how to operate in the real world anymore.
Right.
And it's just, I think it was better, because you had to be smart. Because sometimes I'd be faced with 3 dudes, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, all right, I could say what I want to say, but is this probably not the best time to do it? Oh, here comes my brother. Yeah, I said that.
Right. So I was, I was just recounting this story to someone too, but this last New Year's, right? Not the one coming into 21, but the one coming into 20. I was at the casino I usually go to write and have drinks, right? And I'm sitting there, and when it was around 11 o'clock, this bar area that I was sitting in was standing room only packed. Okay, it was just fucking packed. Right, they had a DJ in there. They got everything going on. It's happening. Well, I'm still sitting at the bar, one of the chairs. Someone touches my bar stool, okay, whichever, right? Then all of a sudden, it felt like someone put their hands on my fucking bar stool and shook it, right? Like just boom, boom, right? So I was like, whoa. And I stood up. I turned around. There's this they're like paisas. Like paisas, we call them, are like Mexicans from Mexico. Like Spanish is their first language. They got cowboy hats on. They're like looking like Mexicans essentially, right?
Understood.
This paisa stand there. He's got his hands on the back of my chair where my jacket is. So he's got his hands on my jacket too, right? And I could tell by his eyes he's just fucking swimming drunk. Like his eyes are just swimming everywhere, right? I was like, hey man, you let go of the chair, bro. As soon as I say it, he's like, what? What do you want? Dude, 4 other paisas just turn around. Now I've got my back to the bar in standing room only, and I'm surrounded by fucking 5 paisas, right?
Yeah.
And one of them, to be fair, was trying to calm the other guy down. He's like, oh, no, we don't want any problems, man. Come on. And I thought about it for a minute. I shouldn't say a minute, for a couple seconds. Because I was like, look, I could dip this motherfucker right now. Right now. Just dip him. Boop. Gone. Right? I could say, security cameras. I could say like, oh, he did something, because they ain't going to see because of how close everything is and all that.
Yeah.
Right. Then I was thinking about it. I'm like, or these paisas can pull out some knives and just fucking stab me up against this bar where I can't move from because I'm totally surrounded and it's standing room only.
Yeah.
So what did I do? Grab my jacket off the seat and I said, hey, you know what? You guys have a happy new year, man. And doing shit like that, yeah, you may feel it later to where you're like, I should have just fucking punched that dude right in the snot box. You know what I mean? Like you have like those feelings, to where, but you gotta be smart about it, man. Because you want to live to fight another day.
Yes, sir. Yahya 1125 says something about this whole situation. He says, we accepted things like mandatory seatbelts in cars and planes, as well as no shirts or shoes, no service in stores. The land of the free, we were neutered long ago. Dang, he just like rubbed it in people's face now. Come on, bro.
I mean, I kind of agree with seatbelts and stuff, like, I don't know. But, yeah, I mean.
But in the sense of the land of the free, it's technically true. It's like, okay, if a guy wants to ride without a helmet, he's not really harming anybody else but himself if something happens. If you crash in a car without a seatbelt on and you die and nobody else dies, let's say it's a single car crash, really it's your responsibility. But, I mean, this is a whole nother conversation about how free is free and what sort of freedom are we talking about in terms of free. Do you have the right to harm yourself? I mean,
yeah, because you're getting at the point to where it's like the government knows what's best for you, not you.
Yeah, exactly.
And those are scary scenarios.
Yeah,
hey, I'll tell you what. When it comes to, because I grew up riding motorcycles and ridden them more or less all my life. I still have my motorcycle's license and all that. But like, somebody dies on a bike. Yeah, it's awful and whichever like that. But what nobody talks about, okay, is the person they crashed into. Yes. the person that has to live with, oh man, this motorcycle rider fucking came through my front windshield and died right next to me on the passenger seat, or whatever, right? Like that type of trauma that they're going to have to live through their whole life, So, I mean, while there is obviously your personal freedom, people should always think about you know, what the ripple effect, I guess, is the way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, as long as I mean, if it's a solo thing, like I said, that's why I said single car crash or something like that. You're not wearing a seatbelt. Fine, fair enough. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, it's a whole debate that I guess is like it's more philosophical than it is anything else. I guess. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, whichever.
Yeah. We're up on an hour. You know what? I think it would be cool to have a guest on. Speaking of which, Yahya on 1125, right here, the gentleman who made this comment, he and I are on the Halal Bad Boy come Thursday. Maybe you should come on OG because he's technically OG too. He's up in our age group. You know, and he's got a very sharp mind. We should have a guest on, man. We should chop it up with a guest on something. Every time we have a guest, it's kind of cool. Like, look what we had Herbert on, man. That was crazy.
That was crazy, man.
Marvin, what was his name? Marvin Herbert or Herbert Marvin, something like that.
Yeah, that was like just listening to that dude talk and everything. That was
wild, dude.
It was intense.
That was wild.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's an idea, guys. If y'all in the crowd think you know somebody who should be a very interesting guest, man, hit us up on Twitter, hit us up here in the comment section. Let us know, man. We should have somebody on, man.
We should.
That'd be fun.
I think that'll be cool, man. Excuse me.
Hey, you still on YouTube? You still have your channel? I remember you used to have a channel, and
no, I do. I'm still there. It's Bobby Dino, and they can find me there, and they can find me at the website too.
Have you connected? Have you synced your YouTube channel to Library?
Oh, hi. I need to replace me. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Z, give me just a second there.
Yeah, okay. Anyway, I was gonna ask him about syncing to the Library. Guys, one thing you can do in this age of censorship, look at like alternative platforms. I am on some alternative platforms. I don't think I'm gonna get censored. It doesn't, I'm not really that controversial of a guy. I crack some snarky jokes, but just in case, I am on Gab. I'm everywhere at Abuamerican. I mean, if you just put that at Abuamerican, I'm there. You can find me there. So, but what you can do is on Library, get over there. And what happens is you get cryptocurrency, I get cryptocurrency, you actually get paid, I get paid for watching
what's
videos.
It called?
Library, LRBY, Library TV. And what you can do is if you have a YouTube channel, you can sync your YouTube channel to Library, and it'll upload all of your content automatically over onto that alternative platform. And every time you upload a video, like this video is automatically going to be uploaded to Library TV, and for every upload you get paid cryptocurrency, and for every view you get paid cryptocurrency. Donald Trump is on there now, so I follow him over there.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out. That'll be cool.
Yeah, and since it's blockchain based, it can't be canceled like like Parler or whatever else. They can't cancel those guys, it's impossible.
Right.
So
Right.
Check it out. It's cool. Worth it because you get paid. There's no guarantee we're gonna get paid. We're always worried about like monetization, not monetization over there. It doesn't matter. They're just like, hey man, whatever. It comes on there, it goes on the blockchain, boom, you get paid your cryptocurrency for your contribution.
Oh wow. That's badass.
Yeah, it really is, man. It's awesome. Who's Andrew Pritchard? I don't know who that is. Me either. Sure. Anyway, I'll look him up. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. This has been OG Logic, episode 20. Cool. Bobby, you got anything you want to drop before we go?
No, just continue to check us out at our websites and online, and we're glad you tuned in. Thanks for coming.
Absolutely. Same thing here. Abuamerican.com. We're out.